Many of my returning viewers will already know what I'm about to tell you, but for any of my new viewers or for any viewers that are finding the channel for the very first time through this video, over the course of the channel's history, I found it very important to portray myself to you guys in the most genuine fashion possible, being very respectful, very courteous, and overall being a very positive impact on the Airsoft community. And a big part of that for me, and I'm sure many of you who have been here before, is the fact that 99% of my content has been about the positive sides of Airsoft rather than the negative. And in the very rare instances where that negative side of Airsoft is just too loud to ignore in my particular videos, I have done my best to make it a learning moment or a teaching moment or a mix of both, either for myself or for you guys watching. And unfortunately, as you can guess, this is one of those rare instances where the negative side is just impossible to ignore during a game of Airsoft. And even more than that, just to top it all off, this is probably the angriest I have ever been during a game, whether that's been on camera or off camera, and we're going to be getting into it right now.
What's up, guys? Welcome to the Wolf's Den. My name is Wolf, and to all of our returning viewers and new viewers alike, I am very excited to have you guys here today. We are back for part 2 with the Evo Ghillie combo. I'm still testing the Ghillie. So far, it's been doing quite well today. Haven't had a whole lot of complaints. I might do a little something just to the helmet, because getting the camera, what I'm holding here in front of me, back onto the mount is a little bit tricky with the Ghillie in the way. It likes to kind of pop off, I've noticed, so gonna have to figure something out with that. But otherwise, you're doing very well. Mobility is pretty good. Running it with the actual bolty like it's supposed to be has been quite nice. But we are back today on Bing's Kill House field, I believe. At least that's where I'm going. I believe that's what I was told. Catching up right now to the rest of the crew, who I believe is already heading off to the field. And we are going to be doing some, I think, either single elimination or team deathmatch. I'm going to be entirely honest with you guys. Missed a little bit of the briefing because I was getting the Evo up and ready after the last game. So we're going to find out, and you guys are going to find out along with me what we are doing up here. Although it looks like we might actually be at shipment. Okay, well, I'm going to be walking for a little extra time. That's all good. Looks like we're actually over at shipment. That's okay. Well, we're going to be doing shipment then, and it's probably going to be TDM, if I had to guess. Haven't done shipment in a while. Evo's going to be really good for it. So, we see how it goes once we get over there and what side we're on.
Now, before we get into round 1, I wanted to clarify a few things and preface this video with a couple of things that I think are going to be important going forward before we get into the game. So, first and foremost, I am going to be doing a fair amount of talking and describing what is happening to you guys as we go through this game. If you're expecting me to just throw out the gameplay with a little bit of context, a little bit of me talking, that's not going to happen. And there's a few reasons why I want to do that, but the most important of which being that I want this to be a teaching moment for all of you guys watching, whether you are brand new to Airsoft or never played before, or if you're a veteran of the hobby. We're going to be looking both at the player's actions throughout this game, but also how I reacted to it ultimately, and seeing how things went right or wrong along the way. But I'm going to be talking a fair amount throughout this video to give you guys as much context and as much explanation and information as I can. That way you guys have as much of a clear view of what is going on as I do after watching it through as many times as I have. But before we get into the heavy stuff, we do have a pretty wholesome moment as I'm getting out onto the field with a player that saw me during the last gameplay that I posted with the MSRs. We're going to go ahead and let this little bit of a lighter section go, and then we'll roll into round 1 just to ease our way into it.
Nah, swapping off for a little bit. Sniper probably wouldn't be very good for this map anyway.
Scorpion?
See.
How fast to shoot?
You can try it if you want.
How fast to shoot?
I mean, you can try it if you want.
I do.
Yeah,
What's
take
on?
them.
Wait, do you have wood magazines? I just wanna. No, your magazine. That? Yes.
Here you go.
That sounds crispy.
Quisp.
Crispy.
Quisp. Sorry. I'm gonna slip past you here, boss.
And unfortunately, it does not take very long for the player that I end up having a bit of a confrontation with to come into today's video. I will replay the scope cam footage that happened just a moment ago so you guys can see that a little bit clearer and a little bit closer without the hit marker in the way, but I very clearly hit him directly in the center of the mask and caused him to flinch. Now, this is not enough for me to call him a cheater. This could be a one-off thing, so let's see how this progresses throughout the rest of the video, but this is the player we're going to want to keep an eye on as he comes up a few more times during the rest of this game. And within 30 seconds of our first engagement with the player that we are going to be focusing on for today's video, I end up getting hit by him as he runs up and just sprays the crap out of the doorway that I'm standing in. Obviously, that's my bad for standing in the doorway. I'm not blaming him for getting me out. That's not what's going on here. That does send me back to respawn, and after I get back to respawn, we run into him again pretty quickly. So I'll let you guys see what happens next, and we'll talk about that some more.
Coming through, coming through.
I can live with that.
And as you guys have been able to see from this second section after taking my first hit and respawn, I'm still having some problems getting this player to call quite a few hits. Much like the first time, he's reacting to them by flinching or ducking back into cover and acting like he can tell that he's getting hit, he's just not calling them. But what's more of a problem in my opinion than him not taking the hits that I got him with is the fact that he's inside the wooden box that's directly ahead of me. Now, if you guys can't tell from this perspective, that wooden box is one of the wooden barricades that are supposed to be turned upright so that way you can hide behind them. This one at some point got knocked over, not during this game of course, but it got knocked over, and he's now crawled inside of it. If I'm being honest, off the top of my head, I don't remember if the ref mentioned this prior to the game. I want to say that he did because with Kill House, this is something that always comes up, of whether or not you can get into these or not. And the answer is no. You're not supposed to be getting into these because it presents a safety problem where you can accidentally shoot someone from really close if they walk in front of your line of fire without realizing that you're inside of it. Of course, this one's a little bit more of a gray area because it could just be accidental. He may not have heard this if it was said, or it may not have been said at all, so there just may not be an understanding that he's not supposed to do this in the first place. I can forgive that. The hit calling is definitely getting more and more suspect as it goes on, but so far we haven't gotten to the thing that really drove me up the wall with this player in particular. And I'm going to go ahead and just pause right here. This is where we run into a very, very big problem, and something that I am a very big advocate for, especially in the casual airsoft space. From where I am standing right now to the end of the Connex box, even the blue barrel, is less than 20 feet, which means that no player, regardless of what they are using, is allowed to shoot another player within that distance. They have to be 20 feet or more to be able to shoot them. And in my humble opinion, this is one of the most important rules to have at a casual field, especially one like Bing, where there's a lot of younger players running around. For something like a Milsim or Speedsoft, this is not as big of a deal. As you can see in this still frame, an enemy player is running up to the Connex box, meaning that he sees me and I see him. If he gets any closer than he currently is, I'm going to have to say bang bang or safety in order to get him out, and naturally he would have to do the same thing to get me out. And as you can probably guess, based on the lead up that I'm giving this is where we're going to have an issue. So I'm going to let this play and let you guys see what happens, and then I will discuss it more once everything is all done and settled.
Safety! I don't want to shoot you this close, bro. Don't make me do it. Hut. Safety! I do not want to shoot you this close, but I will if you do not take it. Do you hear me? Bang, bang! Bang, bang! Hey! That is too close!
Oh, my bad.
Too close!
Oh, okay, my bad. Okay, I keep forgetting in my first half, bro. My
All
bad.
right.
You still stay in the game.
I said safety multiple times and you did not walk out. You have to walk out.
I ain't hear you, bro.
Okay.
My bad. That's
Okay.
You can go back to your spawn now.
Jesus Christ,
ain't
dude.
working.
We switch. We got you.
Okay. Dude, the guy in the white shirt,
I know. All
holy
day.
shit! You know I don't get mad easy. Holy fuck.
We played him earlier.
Oh my god.
Hey, where's he at?
He finally took my safety after the third attempt. I told him I did not want to shoot him that close, and he stuck around the corner and just full auto blasted around it. It's like, dude, no, we do not do that. Absolutely not.
Punching him. Well, somebody got him.
Well, it doesn't help that he's been doing a bunch of other dumb shit either.
Trust me, I know.
Alright guys, just taking a breather back here in our spawn. Obviously you guys know I don't get super angry that easily. I just want to take a second to talk about it. As you saw, that player, pretty sure it's the same guy. He was inside something he wasn't supposed to be in, took a couple of hits that he should have called. It's just a mess there, so please don't lambaste me in the comments. I probably overreacted just a little bit, but you guys know safety's a big thing for me, and I gave him opportunity to call out, and then instead of calling out like he should have, he sprayed her on the corner, which he should not have been doing from that close either. So you guys let me know what you think of that in the comments. We're going to get back into the game. I just needed a second to breathe and to, cool off a bit. You guys know it takes a lot to make me angry, and that definitely was a compounding issue that just was not going to get better unless someone just told them to knock it off a little bit. So promise the rest of this video will not be so angry. We're going to get back into it and see what we can do.
And now that the dust is settled, starting with the event itself and then my initial thoughts in the moment right after it happened, let's go ahead and talk about with the benefit of hindsight, talking about everything that led up to this point, the event itself, and then we'll wrap it up with some information that I got after the game was already over. First and foremost, I want to preface all of this by saying, please do not go down to the comments and attack this player directly. If you want to go down to the comments and dissect and discuss his actions, that's one thing, but please do not go to the comments and just put hateful stuff out there towards this player, because that's not doing anything productive. I want this to be a teaching moment and an opportunity to learn about what not to do or how not to behave out on the airsoft field, and putting this player on blast is not going to accomplish that for something that could just be chalked up to a bad game or a bad day of airsoft for one player in particular. So that being said, let's have a look at exactly what he did wrong and why it set me off in the moment as much as it did. In this clip, you guys can see me on this wooden barrier looking towards the edge of the Connex box, which again, like I mentioned before, is not more than 20 feet away, meaning that if anyone comes around the corner, I would have to safety them if I see them around the corner, either popping their head around or coming around to shoot one of my teammates, whatever it may be. I would have to yell safety or bang bang or any other form of acknowledgement saying that, hey, I'm within 20 feet, I don't want to shoot you, please take the out so I don't have to hit you this close and break the rules. And it's as I'm standing here waiting for an enemy to appear that our player in question comes around the corner, just sort of poking his head around, and I yell safety at him. Initially, I'm very calm. I tell him safety. I tell him I do not want to shoot him that close and to please take the safety call, to which he responds by, again, poking his head around the corner, not taking the safety, and then ducking back around the corner again. I tell him multiple times that I do not want to shoot him that close and to take the safety kill, and it's around this point that you could actually hear him safety kill someone else, one of my own teammates, inside the Connex box. Which tells me one of two things is going on after I hear him safety one of my own teammates. A, he's not hearing what I'm saying, and I'm going to have to yell at him a little bit more aggressively, a little bit louder. Or B, he did hear me and just didn't take the hit. Of course, I want to give him the benefit of the doubt, even in the moment that it's happening. So I instead decide to, again, increase the volume of my voice, be a little bit more authoritative, a little bit more aggressive with the safety call that I'm giving him. And instead of taking the hit when he pops around the corner the third time, he pops around the corner, goes back, and then reappears with his gun around the corner and just blasts me straight in the center of the chest. Which ultimately leads to the full confrontation that you saw just a moment ago. And all that to say, even with the benefit of hindsight and everything that the player said during the interaction, I still think that my response was justified. I just think the way that I went about doing it could have been handled a little bit better. And I don't think that's anything that you guys would disagree with. Again, this is something that returning viewers will know a bit more about me than, say, someone who's brand new to the channel seeing it for the very first time today. I very rarely get confrontational with other players over anything like this. And in the moment when I first made my initial reaction out on the field to what just happened, to kind of cool off and just talk through it a bit before I got back out to it, you guys could hear me say that it was a culmination of things, and that is true. Even in hindsight, looking at it from all the things that we've talked about throughout this video with this player in particular, it was definitely a culmination of things that led up to this point. It wasn't just one thing in particular, although the last straw really was what sent me over the edge with this player. But everything up to this point, you wouldn't really hear me commenting on saying like, oh, he's not calling hits, he's not doing this, or he's doing that. It was really the last thing that pushed it over the edge, but it was this culmination that really just started to wean away my patience with this player and ultimately led to the final confrontation where I got up to him and told him directly not to do what he was doing, and I got very aggressive, for a lack of a better word, with how I was telling him to behave. Could I have handled this situation a little bit better, a little bit more calmly, or simply gone to the ref? Yes, but in the moment, with everything that I had seen and experienced up to that point with this player in particular, I can 100% understand why I acted the way I did in hindsight, and I think you guys can as well, even though in the past I've acted much more calmly and much more restrained for very similar situations. Of course, with all of that being said, if you guys truly think that I messed up here or that I overstepped the bounds of what I should have done in the context of the situation, you guys can 100% say that down in the comments. It's just as important to keep myself accountable as it is to keep other players out in the field accountable. And if I messed up, then I messed up. Like I said, in hindsight, would I have liked to have changed how I responded to this player or possibly been a little bit more calm with this player? Of course. But in the moment, with all the things that were going on around me, all the things I had seen with this player, I'm not going to backpedal on my actions and say that what I did wasn't at least a little bit reasonable. And although I didn't get this on camera, so take this for what you will as just a first-person account with nothing like visual to back it up, I did talk to the ref about this player after this happened because he heard me yelling across the field, or he heard someone yelling, so he asked me about it, to which I told him I was the one doing that. And when I told him who I was yelling at, he mentioned that a few other players out in the field, both on his team and the other team, because he was swapped over to the other team, our team, to begin the day, were making similar type comments / complaints about him. Again, you can take that for what you will. It's just the ref telling me what he had heard from other players throughout the day. Whether or not that's accurate information is entirely up to debate. That is at least what I was told by the ref after this game was over, when I told him what had happened between me and this player in this instance. But after this engagement happened between myself and this other player, there was still one more section of this gameplay that I haven't shown you guys. And if you notice down in the bottom, there is not a whole lot of time left on this video, and that's because I'm going to save the second half of this game, and honestly the more positive half of this game, for another video. I'm sorry to do this to you guys, I know I don't normally do this, but I want to save that second portion of gameplay, and honestly the more positive section of the gameplay, for another video where it has a little bit more time to breathe without having all the heaviness that we've talked about during this first round kind of weighing on top of it, and just giving that the time that it really needs to be its own separate thing. So while I don't normally do this to you guys in this style of gameplay, stay tuned for part 2 if you guys enjoyed this one. Again, let me know what you guys' thoughts were down in the comments below. Please be respectful to the player in question in this video in particular, because he's not here to defend himself and give us his perspective of it. All you're seeing is mine, so it might come off a little bit one-sided at times, but again, I'm still going to stand behind how I reacted to this. I think I made a pretty good call on this one. Based on everything I saw and everything I experienced, I think this was the right call. I just don't know that I handled it exactly the way I should have. And truthfully, the real conflict and the real guilt that I feel on this one is what the players said at the very end of the confrontation, where he said that this was his first time playing. And truly, if that is the case, if that player sees this video, I apologize for putting you somewhat on blast in this video. It was not my intent to go after you in particular, but more to just highlight what you were doing wrong, and I hope you understand that. And I truly hope that you get back out to the field if that was your very first time. I never like to steer new players away or scare them off the field. I try to be as welcoming as I can, but in that instance, it was really difficult not to just be a little bit torqued, a little bit mad, based on the situation that happened in front of me. So with that said, I hope if I see this player out on the field again, which I truly hope that I do, hopefully the experience is a little bit more positive and we can move forward from this experience with him having learned a little bit and me being a little bit more patient with people than I was in today's video. Outside of that though, I'm not going to plug the merch. If you guys want to go and check it out for yourselves, you can. Links in the description as usual. I'm not going to plug it like normal because that feels kind of gross. That doesn't feel right. If you want to go check it out, you know where it is if you've been here before. If it isn't, links are in the description and the pinned comment. Outside of that though, if you guys haven't already, I would highly recommend going and checking out one of these videos that I'm going to link here in just a moment. You guys can go and check those out before you subscribe. Get something a little bit more positive, something that's more indicative of me and who I am here on the channel. Because truthfully, this I don't think is a very good representation of what the channel has to offer, and I think you guys would enjoy the more positive stuff here on the channel more than you will seeing me get angry at another player. So before you subscribe, truthfully, I would like for you to subscribe, don't get me wrong. But before you do, go and check out something a little bit more uplifting, something to lift you up after this video. And as always, this has been Wolf, and I hope to see you guys next time I hit the field.